I've been noticing something over the years. Maybe you have too, maybe not. If thoughts aren't all the same, then where do they actually come from? In the last video, we were exploring a bunch of stuff. We started looking at the idea that some thoughts, when we're thinking, they're super clear, and others, for whatever reason, they feel scattered. Some, again, on the other spectrum, feel organized, almost effortless, like they're just flowing, and we don't have to do anything just to have these clear, crisp thoughts. And those other ones feel noisy. They contradict themselves, that voice in our head. Some of those thoughts, they're hard to hold on to. And when you really unpack it and you sit with that, it raises a deeper question. Why is that actually happening? Because if they're all coming from the same place, then they wouldn't feel so different in their qualities. And when I really started paying attention to this, I realized something I'd never actually questioned before. And it's a simple question, but a profound question is, where is thinking, where are our thoughts, where the hell are they actually coming from? Not what am I thinking, but where is my thinking actually coming from? And if you pause for a moment, you might notice something interesting. Thoughts, they just appear. You don't sit there and consciously build each one, like you're building Legos or something like that. You're not assembling them piece by piece. They show up in our awareness, sometimes clearly, sometimes randomly, and sometimes in ways, actually more often than not, in ways that you didn't expect. And when we really look at that honestly, when we take a deep look, it doesn't quite feel like that we're actually creating every thought. It feels more like they're arising from somewhere. Not from the part of the mind that's actually like thinking the thoughts, that we think is creating the thoughts, but from somewhere underneath it. Now, if that's true, then thoughts, they're not the starting point. They're an expression of something that's actually deeper. But here's where it gets pretty interesting. Most of us try to work with our thoughts only from the level of the thinking mind, from a very busy, a very active, and sometimes just literally an overwhelming noisy mind. We try to organize our thoughts, naturally try to control them, replace them, fix them, all useful things, but the issue is that we stay at the surface, trying to basically only adjust what's already appeared, but that level, it's already downstream from where the thoughts are coming from, so we end up trying to fix what's already happening on the surface without ever touching the source it's actually coming from. And so that's why even when we try to change our thinking, the deeper patterns can still remain and we get the same results because we're working at the level of the results, not from the level it's being generated from. And underneath all of that, there's a quieter level, a more subtle level of awareness, not something that it sounds abstract, but it's not abstract. It's something you've probably experienced in moments where your mind, it naturally settles and becomes quiet and thinking becomes clear all on its own. And that's not something that you have to force, that we have to force or change directly. It's something we begin to gain access to. And it's that level that becomes more stable. Something starts to shift naturally. The mind begins to settle. The noise starts to quiet, and the thoughts that come from out of nowhere begin to change on their own. Not because we tried to control them, but because we're no longer operating from the same place. So the next time a thought shows up, just pause for a moment and ask yourself, did I consciously create that thought? Or maybe is it bubbling up into my awareness all on its own, from somewhere deeper? Because once we start to see that clearly, you and I begin to realize something that's really, really important. And that is that real change, it doesn't come from forcing that change on the surface layer of life. It comes from accessing what's actually underneath it.